Alright, so there's been a lot of talk about this recently. People debating whether or not this is a person, a valuable life, a human being to be protected, or something that's more easily disposable. So let's simplify this conversation a bit by considering the S.L.E.D test, a 4-part discussion that confirms the value of all life. I've heard a lot of people say, how can something so small be a person? Well, I'm just curious. Why can't something so small be a person? Let's think about it this way. We have 3 different people here, all different sizes, all different ages. Is the smallest person less valuable than the bigger person just because she's smaller? So what makes this any different? If size has nothing to do with the value of a human being, how can we say that the life inside of a womb is of less value simply because it's smaller? Well, surely the fact that the unborn is less developed than the rest of us means something, right? I've heard this question a lot. How can something that's not even fully developed yet be a person? Imagine if your development or abilities determined your value as a person. We'll take this duo here, for example. One of them, well, he's practically Einstein, and the other, well, she's getting there. But just because she's not as developed as he is yet, does that make her less of a person? So what makes this any different? If our level of development doesn't make or break our value as human beings, how can we say that a life inside of the womb is of less value simply because it's not fully developed yet? Then there's the argument about this. I've heard a lot of people ask, is the unborn really a person if it's not in the world yet? First, let's start by saying they are in the world, just in a different location. Let's think about ourselves. Our environments are always changing, but as we know, our personhood always remains the same. So let me ask, if the value of personhood is determined by one's environment, does that mean our value changes when we move from place to place? So what makes this any different? If our environment has nothing to do with our value as human beings, how can we say that the life inside of the womb is not a person just because its environment looks different than ours? Additionally, personhood is not defined by this. I've heard a lot of people say, the unborn is totally dependent on its mother, so how can it be a person? Well, I just gotta ask, why can't it be a person? Let's take this little guy for example. He's 21 months old and he can do some things on his own, like play with toys and run around, but there's still a lot he needs help with. You know, like general hygiene, putting on clothes, and eating. But just because he still depends on his mom for all of that stuff doesn't make him any less of a human, does it? So what makes this any different? If personhood is not determined by our degree of dependency, how can we say that a life inside of the womb is not a person just because it depends on its mother for survival? Seems pretty clear when we look at all of these arguments, whether it's size, level of development, environment, or degree of dependency, that none of them define our personhood or our value as human beings.